Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Channel 5 News, the place where history matters. For today, we'll be doing a segment on the Atlantic Charter. But before that, here's Martin Bowie with some background information.
Before we begin to analyze the Atlantic Charter, it's important for everyone to know about Woodrow Wilson's 14 points. At the end of the First World War, the American president traveled to Europe to tell the leaders of the world about his plan. It was clear to all that this war had taken a heavy toll on the population, so naturally no one had the desire to repeat this event. For this reason, Woodrow Wilson decided that he would make it his goal to convince everyone that his points will lead to a better world. His document, the 14 points, contained the following ideas. Firstly, all countries would be guaranteed free navigations of the seas. This would ensure that world trade would continue. Secondly, all countries would reduce the amount of arms they possess. Wilson believed that a lower amount of arms would reduce one's tendency to create conflict. However, the one point that really stood out was his policy of self-determination. This allowed large ethnic minorities to potentially have their own independent country. Finally, he encouraged that a League of Nations would be set up to govern over political and territorial issues. Now let us move forward in time to the Battle of the Atlantic in 1939. The main purpose of this battle was to ensure that goods would be able to reach Britain. Since the Allied army did not have enough supplies, they relied heavily on the North American countries to give them the things they needed. However, Hitler decided to deploy his U-boats with their infamous Wolfpack tactics to prevent any help from arriving to Britain. These submarines managed to sink many ships loaded with cargo, and the situation was becoming very dire very quickly. At this time, Franklin Roosevelt and Winston Churchill decided to meet and discuss the future of the world.
Like Wilson, Roosevelt believed that America should help other nations achieve global peace. In short, he wanted all international disputes to be solved democratically, without war. For this reason, he decided to create the Atlantic Charter, which clearly stated the path that countries should take. Yet one thing that may come as a surprise is the fact that America had not joined the war at this point. Although the American president had high ideals, his country did not agree to the idea of interfering with a war overseas. Nevertheless, people around the world still believed that the Charter could create a just world that was free of large-scale conflict. Signed by Britain and the United States of America in August of 1941, the Charter guaranteed the following things. Firstly, no territorial gains would be sought after once the war ended. It was clear that splitting up Europe into many dysfunctional conflicts did no good for anyone. Yet, Roosevelt still believed that self-determination should still be a right for all people. Therefore, he decided that any new country that was created would only contain one ethnic group, which would help stop people from being exploited. Thirdly, through global cooperation, the world's economy would be improved. Due to the fact that the world had recently suffered through the Great Depression, Roosevelt believed that it was important to ensure that this wouldn't happen again. Fourthly, there would be freedom of the seas to encourage international trade. Finally, Roosevelt wished for all independent states to work together to solve international issues. It is true that a League of Nations was created, but it had proved to be very ineffective because it did not contain all of the major countries or held any major power. Therefore, by including all countries, this new body would be able to effectively create peace and order in the world. However, this document created an interesting argument. Many people felt that a relatively non-binding agreement would never solve the current problems, but this agreement was special since it gave people hope during a terrible time. The fact that it was not legally binding did not change how people felt about it. Due to the strong faith that both Churchill and Roosevelt had in it, many countries were convinced that they would be able to see a better world after the war had ended. Ultimately, it is true that the Atlantic Charter did not guarantee an end to the war, but it convinced many countries that it was worth signing. On September 24, 1941, this charter was signed by 9 different countries, excluding Britain and America, which were Belgium, Czechoslovakia, Greece, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Yugoslavia, and France. These countries may have been occupied by Germany, but their people and their representatives believe strongly in this declaration. Now that just about wraps up the episode for today. I would like to thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye for now.